here the last?
No. Very much easier to say no. Much easier. Yeah, that's Tim and I have that conversation. He's probably laughing over there. I can't see him. But no, I think this is, like I said, this is where there's certain things you have to do. That's just part of it. I mean, that's just part of your job. I mean, you have to, be the face and the voice and represent your brand. I mean, there's just certain obligations that have to be met. That's part of it. But I think having that structure right now is more important than ever. And having a plan and a systematic approach to how you do things and sticking to the fundamentals. I tell our team all the time, and it's a proven fact that in fact, Shannon Sharp, of all people, I'll give him credit for this, just sent me a text, a few weeks back, and he was just making a comment to me, and he's exactly right. Most accidents happen within 5 miles of the destination. And why is that? Well, you kind of get in that comfort zone. You relax a little bit. Maybe you're not quite as focused. You're driving with one hand instead of two, whatever. And I think that right now, our destination, we're almost to the end of the season here. And so we need to be very dialed in as much as ever, fundamentally, technically, how we practice, just taking pride in the little things and not overlooking anything. And not assuming anything, really going back and just, evaluating ourselves and just trying to sprint through the finish line, to be honest with you. So that's what we do. And it's the same thing from a coaching standpoint is, it's what I tell our players, let's keep our life simple. Let's keep the clutter out. Let's control what we control. Again, there are certain things that come with the territory, with being, a highly ranked team. That's just part of it. But managing that as a staff is very important. And so there's little things that we've done to kind of help keep our lives simple. And for me personally, you just no. I mean, that's what I tell Tim. No. Yeah, but no. And we just move on.
You mentioned your plan and managing things. In that 2 years away from football, did any of that, what you learned in the business world, carry over to running your program?
I think you learn from everything, and my 13 years at Alabama and being a part of that program in every facet of the program certainly helped shape my philosophies and how I deal with things. I learned a lot from the good. I learned a ton from the bad. I think that's kind of what life is. And but the 2 seasons that I was out of coaching, I think the biggest thing there is it just made me a better coach and gave me a different perspective and a different appreciation for the opportunity that I have to coach and to be around young people. And the grind made me appreciate the grind a little bit more, those type of things. But I've learned from all of my experiences along the way. And just like, you guys with what y'all do, I mean, we got some gray-headed guys in here. You're probably a lot better now than maybe you were when 10 years ago, 20 years ago. And it's called experience. And you learn from every experience that you have, or at least you should. And I try to. But those 2 seasons were definitely great for me. Gave me an opportunity to go around and travel a little bit and study other people and see different things. Because like I said, all I knew was Alabama, and so it certainly made me a better coach.
Before the Georgia game last year,
What's that?
Before the Georgia game last year, I remember you were talking about the way the playoff system works now, and I thought it was interesting when you said now it's incumbent on the schools to have a good enough schedule that if you have one of these great seasons, nobody can argue with you that you belong among the 4. What kind of long-range planning goes into making sure that you don't get disappointed in the opportunity? Well,
for me personally, when I got the job, it was the first things we talked about in 2009 with Terry Don. I sat down with Terry Don because, for me, I wanted the opportunity to be the best, and I knew that, whether it was people, saying things about the ACC or people saying things about Clemson. The only way we're going to change that is, you gotta win consistently, and you gotta beat people outside of your conference. So that's what we've done. We've just gone to work with that plan over the last 7 years, and because we sat down and we're talking about future schedules, and hey, Georgia's on the schedule, and I didn't even know if I'd still be the head coach. I was just hoping I'd be the head coach in 13. I'm like, if I'm here in 13, things have gone pretty good. So this was 2009, but because there was some talk about canceling that game, is how this came up. And I'm like, no. Hey, look, I'm not jacked up to go play Georgia. You play people like that, you gotta, it's a 50-50 deal. But we have to do that as a program. So from a scheduling philosophy, hey, we're going to play our conference games, and those are, you're all in every week when you play your conference games. Anything can happen. And then we got South Carolina, which has been an excellent opponent. They're an SEC team. And then we need somebody else every year. And then for us, we've had some other type of mid-major type of a team, and then one of our FCS schools in the state. That's been our formula. And the message being, hey, listen, we're going to have that type of year. And when it's all said and done, nobody's going to be able to, we're not going to have to worry about going undefeated and not being at the party. That ain't going to happen here. And that's what I've said from day one. And that's how it's played out, whether it's been Florida State or certainly we're in the position, if we can finish, nobody can say anything about our schedule. And then I think, not just this year, but we've played a lot of people outside of this conference. A ton of people, whether it's through our schedule or through our bowl games, some of the best in the world, from the LSU, Notre Dame, Ohio States, Oklahomas, Georgia's, Auburn's. We've played a lot of people, and because of the success that we've been able to have, well, then all of a sudden some of those perceptions change, and but you have to, you gotta do it. You can't talk about it. You got to be about it, and it's just, you put your head down as a program and go to work. You suck up the failures and learn from them, and you grow from the victories, and along the way you just keep recruiting, keep working, keep coaching. So now it's a different conversation. Nobody can say anything to us anymore. What are they going to say? I laugh at all that. That's why I've been kind of, critical of some people this year, with some really uneducated comments, because our team has been incredibly. There's not a more consistent team or program in the nation, anywhere, on or off the field, and that's been a long. It's not just this year. This has been 7 years of just being efficient with what we do, and so I think, you gotta play people. You gotta play people, and I think and I had no idea in 2009 that there was this playoff thing. I had no clue, but certainly now that the playoff is in play, it seems to be one of those things they talk about every week. As far as your strength of schedule. Now, some of that you don't control, because these schedules are done out in advance, and you may think you have a really good opponent on there, and it just so happens when it's time to play them, maybe they're in a bad run, because that happens. It doesn't matter. Whether it's Michigan or whoever, you go through bad runs in your program from time to time, and that's so those are things you don't control. But I think people understand, if you're trying to schedule aggressively or not.
From a recruiting standpoint, what was that process like of going out and trying to build the brand and moving into Florida and Georgia more and trying to just keep getting better and better players?
Well, the biggest thing is you have to have a plan. You got to have a vision for your program, and you got to be able to articulate that. And you got to have a staff that believes in what you're talking about, and you got to be able to resonate that message. But more importantly, you got to do a great job with the players you have here. That's the greatest asset we have, are the guys on the team, not the guys we're recruiting. It's the guys on the team. You do a great job of developing your players. You do a great job of loving your players, serving them, caring about them. The recruiting take care of itself. Do a great job of graduating them. and then you work really hard and do a good job of evaluating and don't worry about what other people think or say. Be true to what you believe in, then you got a good chance to be successful.
You're going to have a number of juniors that might take a look at the NFL, and pretty soon that paperwork comes up. How do you expect that's going to play out, especially if you're pursuing a championship run here?
Doesn't have anything to do with it. Has zero to do with it. I mean, we're going to play the games. They're not going to, unless they say, hey, I'm not playing, I'm going pro. Well, I don't think that's going to happen. That's fine. Just let me know so we can get the next guy in there. We don't pay any attention to that. I mean, if Shaq Lawson wants to go pro, great. That's great. That's beautiful. That's a wonderful thing for him. He hasn't said that's what he wants to do, but if he's just top guy in my mind because he's a creature. I mean, he's a great player who's leading the nation in tackles for loss, I think, or second in the nation. He's an NFL dude. And if he decides that he's ready to move on to the NFL, great. I have no problem with that. All I care about is how you play on game day. You better play or you ain't playing. It doesn't matter. I mean, we hold them accountable here. So if you're not going to play well because you're thinking about going to the NFL, which I guess that's kind of the rhetoric that you're coming with there, you're not going to play here. You might as well go ahead and start training. So we don't deal with that stuff. Our guys here, they want to win, and there's a time and a place for all that stuff. Now ain't the time and place. Even though guys may be thinking about their future, we have seniors, same thing. Seniors that are graduates that are thinking about maybe, okay, I got to have a plan for the spring. And that's okay, but you better show up and go to work every day and take care of the things that are right in front of you and that are imminent. But now those things aren't a distraction.
This weekend is a season of its own, but aside from the fact that it's rivalry week, it's the end of the season, maybe guys are banged up, hurting a little bit. What are some other challenges with rivalry week this weekend?
Challenges? I don't really see any challenges. I think it's a lot of benefits. School gets out today. I think it's great because we get them more. We have more time with our guys. We'll have a little extra meeting time tomorrow. They get a little extra rest this week than they would on a normal week. I think it's good to be able to have a moment to, really reflect and think about the things that you're thankful for. One of them being an opportunity to be a part of a game like this. So I don't really see any added challenges. To me, there's more good things involved. Like I said, that you don't usually have, like no school. That's a beautiful thing. Because these guys, their days are tough, man. It's tough. Unless you've been a student athlete, it's hard to really have an appreciation for what all they do. There's 168 hours in a week, I believe, and we only get them for 20. So the world has them for 148, and they got a lot going on. I mean, some of them got, big tests, and they're up till 2 in the morning, and they're getting ready for this and that. And I mean, it's a grind. And so all we can do is maximize our time and try to have great, efficient meetings and practices and things like that when we do have them. And so to me, this week, it's good because there's, like I said, they got an opportunity to have more time to study. We can have them longer. We don't have the 20-hour rule as a factor. School's not a factor. They can get more rest, more sleep, and then also a time of reflection on what they're thankful for.
Ability to a team, an opponent that has a greater sense of desperation when this is all they've got, this is their bowl game, this is their final game. Is there any ability that they're going to play different or harder or more desperate or anything like that when they're just trying to ruin what somebody else has accomplished?
Well, it's funny. I said that last week. It was like, well, this is their national championship game. Was the rhetoric for Wake Forest? Was our national championship game too? I mean, this game isn't any more important to them than it is us. I promise you. We got. I mean, all I know is we're going to get everybody's best. That just comes with the territory, and our guys know that. That's why we don't get too distracted by the opponent. We're going to get everybody's best effort each and every week. But that's just not our focus. Okay, well, these guys are going to really play hard, and these guys aren't. It's really just how we play and the type of effort and preparation and the mentality and the toughness. It's all about our execution, playing physical. That's what we talk about, playing to a standard, regardless of another team's record, whatever time we're kicking off at, the uniforms, who's in the stands, who's not, is it on the road, is it at home? Those things just cannot be a part of the equation from a preparation standpoint and a mentality standpoint for the competitor. Maybe for the fans, but not for the competitor. If those things are a factor, then you're never going to be, consistent. All I know is South Carolina's going to play their tails off, and I have no reasons to think otherwise. But so are we.
Yeah, but this is shaping up to be one of the craziest coaching carousel off seasons ever. Part of the rhetoric out there is your name's even been thrown in for jobs that aren't even open yet. At this point, with everything going on at Clemson, is this past the point of being one of those jobs that you come to and then go elsewhere?
This is a great job. I think that, it's sad that again, you're even asking the question, but that's the world we live in, because anybody can say anything, anytime, and all that type of stuff. But, we're number one in the nation. So this is a pretty good job. Pretty good job. A lot of people didn't think this was a good job. It's a pretty good job.
Deb, I wanted to ask about 7 years ago, you're sitting here as an interim heading into this game. Sean's got that same kind of thing. Did you have any idea coming into this week that you might be getting the job at the end of the week? And how did you not stop thinking? How did you not think about anything else but this?
Well, and again, you're just so consumed with what you have to do that day. I mean, it's just there's a long list of things. You're leaving here at 10:30 at night. There's a long list of things that have to be done. It's not like you're just sitting around, watching SportsCenter, thinking about what you're going to do next week. You're working. You are grinding. You're doing everything you can to prepare a plan, and you care about your guys, and that's just that's professionalism. You want to give your team the best chance to be successful. Nobody, wants to go out and look bad. I don't care what the record is. You want to win that game, and for us, I mean, I had a good feeling. Just because we had we'd had a little bit of success and we had a little mojo going, but I was like, if we win the game, then it's probably going to be hard for them to not at least give me a chance. Maybe it's a 1-year contract. I don't know. Didn't really care. Didn't even read the contract. Just signed whatever he put in front of me. I mean, a pretty cheap investment. I didn't care. I told him that because he wanted to. That was a conversation. He wanted to pay me, and because I wanted to get the program. We were a mess, and we needed to build a program, and we needed, things in place, and we had one support guy. I mean, we were, archaic from just the way we did things, and so that was my focus right out of the gate, was to try to do these things, and there were some. We didn't really get along very well in the early stages, just because, I felt like, okay, well, if we're going to get the same results then. And so that was kind of one of the things for me, because, they want to pay. I'm like, look, I don't need that. Leave me on the contract I'm on. I'm good. I make more money than I've ever made. I want to win, and I want to build a program that we can all be proud of around here. And so, we eventually kind of got where we got, and I think my contract was like $700,000 or $800,000, which is, I mean, I'm like, what are you going to do with all that? I have no idea. I mean, I never made that kind of money. I never even dreamed about it, to be honest with you. I remember he says, well, we're going. I had no buyout. It was just like it had a longevity clause. If you're here in 5 years, we're going to give you $500,000 or something. I'm like, beautiful, let's go. Whatever. And so, that was kind of the starting point for us. But it's been a lot of fun to see it grow, and as we've had a little success, it was kind of like, all right, we were able to get out of the gates a little bit further. But for me, I knew that if we won it, then they were probably going to give me a shot, and if we didn't, then it was going to be a gut call probably by Terry Don and the president. So, but it worked out. And you give the players the credit, because those guys could have easily, as you were talking about, I'm going to the NFL. They could have easily kind of moved on. But that senior class, man, they dug in and they said, you know what, we want to leave this place better, and this ain't how we want to go out. And so it was great. Gave us an opportunity to go play in the Gator Bowl, and it was a lot of fun. With that, and then kind of set the foundation. And then in 2009, our first full year, we kind of started the process officially.
How much have you seen the head coaching position itself evolve and change from a standpoint of maybe doing less on-field coaching to being more of a manager of the program?
I think it just depends. I mean, I don't think it's changed at all, to be honest with you. I'm as involved now as I've always been. I try to, obviously I'm going to always be geared offensively. That's just my background and my instincts and my gut, and where I can definitely help the most. But I also think it's very important that you're the head coach. And so I try to spend, a good amount of time with the defense, whether it's sitting in their meetings or I'll take a few periods each practice and just go over there and be engaged with those guys. I think that's important, because I want to have great relationships. I don't want to just be seen as the offensive guy, head coach. I want to be, across the board, relationships all the way across the board. And that was something that Coach Stallings instilled in me. He was just opposite. He was a defensive guy. But he really did a good job of creating those relationships all across the team. In particular, he was a DB guy, a secondary guy. So, as a head coach, I think you have to stay true to who you are. So you don't want to get away from your strengths, and I don't do that. But I think you got to make sure that you're involved in the whole thing. But and then you got to surround yourself with the right people. You got to build a good enough support team to allow you to focus on the things that you need to focus on, because there's so much going on. I mean, it's just incredible, the things that you deal with. And so that's where you better have a guy like Woody McCorvey and Brad Scott, Mike Dooley, Daniel Bassett, Thad Turnipseed, Jordan. You need a group of people like that can help you, so that you don't get too far removed from what's going on with your coaches and with your team and all that stuff. And so, I try to manage everything from a staff standpoint by how I do all the practices. That's how I control the staff, because coaches are terrible as far as you give them too much time. It ain't good. It's not. And so, that I have to, here's the philosophy of what we're going to do, and we're going to stay within this philosophy, and here's the amount of time we got. And so, and then, just checking the plan and making sure that we're sound in everything that we're doing.
As an interim or former interim head coach, do you feel for Coach Elliott's situation, and what would you say to him as he kind of waits out to see?
Well, I feel for, somebody asked me that a week or so ago. I feel for all those guys. There's a bunch of interim head coaches, like a ton, all across the country. I feel for all those guys, because it's a tough situation when you go from one of them to the leader of them and all the dynamics that come with that. And all of a sudden you sit in that seat and you don't really know all the things that you got to deal with. I mean, now all of a sudden you've got a lot of planning, a lot of organizations, a lot of details, a lot of questions. Everything comes through you. I mean, things that you've never thought about, whether it's, your itinerary on Friday and when the buses are leaving and the meetings and the practice, just stuff. And so it's a tough challenge for all of those guys. And I know this. I wouldn't want to do it again. I mean, I really wouldn't. But that's kind of part of growing up too. Sometimes ignorance is bliss, and what you don't know is a great thing. I think that's why God does it that way. We don't all know, like when we're going to die. We don't all know certain things out there because we would be like paralyzed if we did. So there was a lot I didn't know. I can tell you that. But man, I was full speed, and that's just, I think that's what you have to do. You just roll your sleeves up. You put everything you got into it. You be professional, and you try to make the very best of whatever you got. And I think that's what all those guys have to do, and I think Coach Elliott's done that.
Dabo, you mentioned you got a great job, number one in the country. You got a great relationship with your fans. They sang happy birthday to you on Saturday and all that. When you see that there's a group.
Were you singing, Phil? Were you part of that?
I don't sing.
Okay, you don't sing? Okay.
Oh, my goodness. When you see at LSU, there's a group putting together like $15 million to buy out Les Miles. And he's had 3 losses this year. Does that remind you how fragile the relationship can be?
I don't need that reminder. I know. Lose 2 or 3 ball games, and some of them letters I got in my file back there, I hadn't got a few of them this year, but they'll come in, they'll start rolling in again. I got some doozies, man. I got some doozies. But that's just, again, that's part of it. And again, 13 years at Alabama prepared me for that relationship, if you will. There's some people out there that, they'll, hey, we're with you, win or win. That's just the way it is. So no, I don't get geared up that way. I just do the best I can. That's all you can do. You just do the best you can do. Make sure when you look in the mirror, you know that you've given the program every ounce of what you have. Sometimes there's things you don't control. Sometimes bad things happen. Sometimes, injuries or whatever it may be. And as long as I can look in the mirror and know that I did the very best I could, and they want to run me out of here, well, that's, I can live with that. It's a big boy business. That's just the way it is. I mean, that's when I got in this job. I remember, I'll never forget it. I don't remember who told me this, but they said when you get into coaching, it's a dog-eat-dog world, and they fit you with a big old nice pair of milk bone underwear right out of the gate. So that's just part of it. That's why I always say fun's in the winning. And when you lose, they're probably going to bring somebody else in. It doesn't matter how much they like you last year. That love last year, don't get it done this year. It might buy you a little time. They might be a little more patient, but you're not going to see any more Frank Beamers. Frank Beamer would never be Frank Beamer if it wasn't for the way things were back then. There's not going to be any more Frank Beamers. Did he have a losing record like his first 5 or 6 years? Shoot, you're done in 2. You're done in 3. I mean, it's like, magic, and it doesn't work that way in football. Unfortunately, it just doesn't work that way. And, it's hard work, and it's bringing a lot of things together. It's consistency, but when you're at a program like Clemson or LSU, it just kind of comes with the territory. Even when you win, people ain't happy. Now we're at a point in our program when we win, people are mad. We didn't win by enough. I get some of these questions like, we didn't win. I'm like, what are you talking about? Now it's a beauty pageant. Well, we need to win by 30. Like the other team doesn't have good players, and they don't have good coaches. So it's that's just the way it is. But again, I went to Alabama when I was 18. I left when I was 31. And when I left there, I had a full appreciation because in 1999, we were the SEC champions and on top of the world. Beat Florida in overtime down there and then killed them in the SEC championship game. And we're in the Orange Bowl. And man, I got a new contract because I had had a chance to leave, and Mal Moore calls me in and they give me a new contract and give me a little bit more money. And 9 months later, we're all fired. And we're the number 3 team in the country going into the season. So I've been there, done that. I've experienced it all, and I have a full awareness of how close it is from the outhouse to the penthouse and vice versa.
So when you took over, that you didn't care about the money or anything, you just knew that there were some things that you needed to fix and work on. Was some of that devoting, maybe social media more, recruiting, that kind of stuff, and devoting more people to?
Yeah, well, that eventually kind of came. That wasn't a part of the initial. We needed to build our brand. I think we were all just learning how to text in 2009, but that kind of came a little later. But just building an infrastructure, was kind of the first thing. But yeah, we needed to build our brand. We needed to be able to do a better job from a recruiting standpoint as far as how we were organized and evaluate and accountability and things like that. But the social media part, as that started coming on board, and I think that's the key to maintaining success. You look at any my old business background. You look at the old bell curve of a business. You got the birth, you got the growth, you got plateau, you got decline, and you got death. All right, and if those great businesses out there, those great programs, they don't plateau. And so how do you do that? Well, you have to constantly reinvent, reinvest, reset, learn, grow. You change. You have to do that. You don't just change to change, but you have to always challenge yourself each and every year and make sure, okay, is this still the right? Well, okay, it's maybe how we've done it, but is it still the right way? At least ask those type of questions. And I think every successful business, every consistent program, that's a mentality. You can't be satisfied because just as soon as you think you've arrived and you're satisfied and you plateau, and next thing you know, you're on that decline, and now you're not paying attention to the little things. You don't have the sense of urgency, because you're fat and happy, and then it's death. The business is closed or whatever. Something new has come about. So yeah, all of a sudden, boom, what's new? Here's social media. Well, we better figure that out. And how do we use that? So that's just my personality. That's just how I am. I'm always trying to. It's just like our new facility. Well, that's a pretty good facility. Why y'all need to do anything else? Well, because we want to be the best, and we want to lead. We don't want to be. We've been there, done that at Clemson as far as being reactive to everything. We want to be proactive, and so that's a mentality that's kind of, I think, taken root here.
Anything else?
Coach, last year against South Carolina, Deshaun kind of cemented his place in Clemson lore with his performance on one good knee. How much do you think that experience, I guess, kind of contributed to his growth as a player and a person and quarterback?
Well, it was huge. I mean, that was obviously a big game, and I think just his leadership. I think his teammates already had a ton of belief and respect in him, but I'd never seen anything like that. I mean, it was incredible. It really was. And, I'm just glad that he was able to get well, and he's had a great spring and a great season, and, we need him to have a strong finish.
Thank you, Coach.
Okay.